Good morning. I'm Leslie, and I am a part of Korea House Church. Okay, so a little bit about myself. I was introduced to Christianity at a winter retreat in middle school. I felt a post-retreat high every year, which faded over the next months. Wash, rinse, and repeat. Throughout my youth, I remained a fair weather Christian. As I reflected for this testimony, I remember that I would tell people in college that I believed in Jesus, but I didn't tell them I was Christian. I didn't want to be a hypocrite. It felt like I had to be all or nothing, either pious as a saint or off the hook. And similarly, I avoided baptism because I felt like I was not good enough to publicly claim to be Christian. But even then, God still stayed by my side across all these years. For example, when I was applying for physician assistant school, unknowingly, my then boyfriend and now husband was praying fervently for me to get into Baylor College of Medicine in Houston. It was closer to home than the program that I was accepted to at that time. And miraculously, I got off the wait list just 2 weeks before the semester started. And just like before, I thank God, shared the amazing news, um, and then I moved on. Fast forward a few years, I entered a new chapter of life. I was a new mom, and parenthood was crushing my marriage. By the grace of God, I was invited to attend house church, and at that time, all I knew was that it was on a Friday. For my first house church, I was bracing for an intense Bible study sesh, but I was pleasantly surprised by Jollibee fried chicken, fellowship, and a group of then strangers vulnerably sharing praise reports and prayer requests. And even though I thought it would be impossible to keep my 1.5-year-old son at the time up until midnight, every Friday I kept coming. And now today, here I am at the end of another meaningful house church seminar, giving my testimony about the power of house church. And so I'm grateful to house church for introducing me to a new way to connect with God and Christianity. It was through house church that I was able to see the purpose of the journey. And just we as humans, we're not good or bad. We are a mix of all things. I love the straightforward yet profound concept that I learned in the Receiving Jesus meeting was that when we reject Jesus and allow hate and vengeance to take over, that is just living life without God. And when we receive Jesus in our hearts, we get a glimpse of heaven. Furthermore, Pastor Chai's sermon really showed me that once we accept Christ, that it's not that our personalities change, it's that we just become a channel of his character. So the beauty of house church is that many different personalities come together because of God. Our house church is pretty evenly balanced between emotional feelers and emotionless robots. Living life through and hearing everyone's different experiences has been a really humbling reminder to, give love and show grace to my robot-like husband and my sometimes cray-cray kids. House church is a safe space where we might not always see eye to eye, but we have faith that we can figure it out no matter how long it takes through God. My faith has slowly bled into other areas of my life, just allowing me to persist through this challenging season of life. Though my faith ebbs and flows, when I'm feeling distant from God, I'm so grateful to have my house church members for support. In these times, I'm strengthened by their faith and their connection and consistency. And so I guess my journey has come full circle back to baptism. After developing a relationship with God through through house church, I finally felt convicted to profess my faith with baptism. And I now see that my baptism last weekend as a symbol of how I've learned to see Christianity in a healthy way. To be honest, this week I felt really distant from God and have subsequently leaned into a very negative narrative of guilt and doubt while trying to write this testimony. But Most importantly, I'm really grateful because my baptism will be a constant reminder to not get lost in the valleys of my journey. My baptism and house church are my constant and gentle reminders to focus my heart on growth through connection with God in the church. Thank you.